Alright. Hello, everybody. Welcome
Uh,
back to Pick'ems. It's what, week 3? Yeah, week 3. Last week didn't go the best for Pick'ems. Honestly,
it's yours.
uh, yeah, I guess. But so the three matches that were predicted wrong was Atlanta versus Washington on Friday, Boston and London on Saturday, and Florida and Houston on Sunday. The score was flipped on Florida, Houston, and Boston, London. But god dang, Atlanta. that was an unfortunate matchup. However, now, here we are into week 3, the first week that we get to see the East region play. They'll be starting out on Friday alongside uh, West region, and will actually open up the weekend, unlike how they or normally the second act of the weekend. So, Shanghai, Philly. What's your thoughts, Zach? Or Rudd?
So I think we can all say what we're thinking right now. Everyone's got them at the top of their leader or power rankings right now. The Shanghai Dragons had not really changed much since last year. Easily looking to be one of the best teams. Although, all right, hear me out. I'm not trying to be like I'm just trying to be like devil's advocate. We said this about Fuel, and Fuel are looking to be middle of the pack right now. Like they got lost to Houston. I am nowhere relating Fuel to Shanghai, but I'm saying there's a possibility that they maybe will be not as good. But I still am full-heartedly believe that Shanghai will be the number one.
Yeah, Shanghai, like, I would make that argument with that you're making with Dallas, comparing it to Shanghai, if all of APAC improved substantially, with like most of the teams did in North America, which really didn't happen. So, like, there are definitely teams that had big reworks. One of them being Philadelphia. However, I don't see it being that substantial enough that they're really going to perform to such a high caliber that they're going to be able to beat the Dragons.
Yeah, and speaking of leveling up,
Hold on,
I don't think
before
that's.
I was gonna say, like, if
Uh,
you're about to move on to the next game, I actually want to.
no,
Uh,
I was about to say like Fusion. I said speaking of level up, I don't think Philly did much of that. They more or less side graded or
yeah,
anything. Because,
like Aim God, I guess was a decent pickup comparing to
but
like
yeah, I'm sorry,
Alarm,
but
who unfortunately did pass away.
yeah,
But I mean, other
versus
than that, really nobody was as much of an upgrade. I do think though that Philly might take him out, but that's just because Philly can sometimes take maps regardless of who they're facing.
I
Just because
think
they're
eh,
Philly, they're
I think
number
that's
two.
fair. I might.
So Guangzhou Valiant, what's your thoughts?
Uh, La Torre Bull, the bread bull of the APAC region, or at least suspected bread bull. We could end up seeing one of these two teams end up being performing way past anyone had predicted.
Yeah, and that
However,
I do think that we do need to talk about Valiant before we talk about Charge, just because Valiant does have a lot to talk about.
yeah, and what's your thoughts on Valiant?
I think they got a chance this year. Not a chance to make like tournaments, but I think they're definitely gonna be picking up some wins this year.
Yeah, I definitely there are like this looks if you were to show me this roster probably like a year ago, I would have thought like this looks like I don't know maybe a Spark roster or something like that, like a nice mix of like decent uh Chinese and Korean talent, not like your massive like not like your massive pickups, but like Dia is going to be a really good starter for DPS. And I do like the coldest pickup too. Those are probably two of my highlights.
Yeah, I really do think that Dia is definitely going to be the carry of the team. I mean, like he was great on Shanghai back when he was on that team, and I mean, really, that's not saying much, especially for really 2017 Shanghai. But I think that he was still a great player. 2018, he did really well, helping the team get their first win and just kind of helping them get on their feet. Other than that, I really don't know a huge else amount like about the rest of the team. I mean, I'm familiar with some of their names, like Innovation, for example, but other than that, I mean, like the team definitely has a solid roster, and I don't know though, because Charge definitely are not that terrible either, at least in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, they still have Krong, which his play, I admit, isn't as good as his rookie season, but he's still a highlight of this team. Eileen's always a not necessarily MVP every year, but he has those moments where, you know, he deserve, maybe a nomination.
Plus, we actually get
And
to see develop, finally play a game. Hopefully, maybe.
I mean, yeah, he is the only hit scan. At least, yeah, I believe.
I
So
believe that actually goes to. Is Eileen? No. Yeah, so they only have develop as their only hit skin. Finally gonna get to see him play after sitting on the bench the entire year with the Dragons. Uh, they also picked up Faraway in 1987 from the Hunters, which I think was a great pickup for them.
yeah, and we also have Unique. Finally gets to see some more Element Mystic into the league. Always love some Element Mystic. But yeah, this support line does look pretty good. I mean, Mali and Fire A 1987. I think that's like one of the best Chinese supports, like the best Chinese support lineup you can
I
have.
think the funniest thing is I think Molly's probably gonna sit on the bench again though, especially since you'll have Farway playing on like the Ana or these, uh,
Yeah, it'll probably be like Unique with Lucio, Fireway, and
yeah,
Ana.
unique
If
playing.
if the meta stays like the way it has been, which
Yeah,
it
we
probably
also see that
will.
APAC
Yeah.
is typically the ones innovating the meta and kind of playing whatever they feel. So the Genji soldier monkey Ana Lucio might not work, but we will just have to wait and see, I guess. But who do you think is really going to win? Because this is definitely a hard one for me to predict.
Is Bribble. I do think it'll go 3-2. I think it'll go to distance. However, I as much as I want to say Valiant, I do think that it's going to be a 3-2 for Charge.
I'm honestly thinking that too. I think the 3-2 charge makes more sense, especially since like we have Krong. It's just a matter of are we going to see Rio be playing more, or are we going to be seeing Krong?
I think Krong is absolutely going to. Well, you see, with the Winston pick, I feel like they're definitely a team to probably maybe try a Doomfist comp.
Yeah, because I do
Maybe
want to
with
say,
Eileen or
Krong's
someone on Doomfist, and then
actually
have
Krong's Liquipedia
develop
has been updated to have Doomfist on his signature
has it
heroes, but
really.
Liquipedia is not the most like reputable one to look at when it comes to their signature heroes because there are definitely some players that have like really weird uh characters. They could play Eileen on there, but I think that they're gonna play Doom. Krong will probably be it.
It's just yeah, APAC region's so like different from the West, but I think that's where like the Los Angeles Valley like they're more of like even though they're like a Chinese pretty much a Chinese team, they're still like they still have that like feel of like a Western team. Like they never go out of their comfort zone or like out of the comfort meta.
But one
But we'll see.
character that I think that we will get to see, and that I really want to start talking about with this next match, the Dragon, not the Dragons, the Spark versus the Dynasty, is Orisa because uh, Seal picks up Smurf off of uh, the Shock.
Shock.
One of the best Orisas, easily. Going into this, I mean, Orisa's a lot different than she was coming into the season compared to Overwatch 1 Orisa. However, I think that this is going to definitely stay kind of similar to, like, you know, characters who are good at, like Dante being able to play the tank on the Doomfist, regardless of if Doomfist is a DPS or a tank. I think that this might still stick around with Orisa still being a top pick for someone like Smurf, regardless of if it's Overwatch 1 or Overwatch 2 Orisa.
But I mean, you know who's in this meta right now, right? Like pretty prominent, Monkey. You know who has like one of
That
the
is
best
that is
monkeys in the
another
league?
that is another thing with Smurf, which is why I
Exactly.
think Seal might actually be a top tier threat this year.
Like they only have
Potentially,
one tank,
depending,
but Smurf is all they need.
it is all they need. That's why they only have him as their tank. So I really think that with the way that Seal has his team set up, they can play the monkey, they can play the Doomfist, they can play the Orisa if they want to. Like they can play off meta picks and still perform well. And I think that's why they ran with just Smurf as their only tank, because that just I feel like that really works as a perfect backbone player. And honestly, I think that they might provide the first three of the APAC region
I was saying the
because
same thing.
yeah, because Spark they still have like Goushway and Architect and Shy, but other than that, I mean like Bernard isn't that bad, but you're gonna be playing Goushway. You're not gonna be playing Bernard.
Like they picked up a lot of middle of the pack players. They never got like any huge hitters.
Yeah,
And they haven't had any huge hitter. Like the last huge hitter they got was in 2020 when they picked up Architect, and that
I
was
mean
like the
they
only
had some
one.
decent players. Like they had
I
Godspeed, they
shot,
had
yeah,
MCD, they had IDK, they
it's
had
shy.
Siam and Sue.
They have shy. Like the DPS lines, that's all right, but I'm not a fan of the tank nor supports.
Yeah, they also just have so many players, so they could definitely pull out some surprising games here. But I mean, like you'll each of them have that like one character they can play that's in this meta. Like Goushway will be playing like the Winston, and then you'll have Ligue playing the Zarya, and Bernard can also play the Zarya as well. So like none of their tanks can play both Monkey and Zarya or even Doomfist, which probably will go to Architect. Going into Saturday though, we have the Chengdu Hunters versus the Guangzhou Charge. Chengdu made quite a big changes to their team, dropping a lot of their like extra players, I guess you could say. They no
Yeah, I
longer
definitely do.
they no longer have 100 players.
It's definitely a minimal lineup, but I think it's something that they can work with. They have a pretty solid, flexible Leave and Jinmu DPS line. You know, we've always, I mean, Leave being the MVP from last year. Yeah,
Justice for Leave, he needs to
so,
get a skin. Uh,
yeah.
they only picked up two players, that being Nisha and Daisy, which I mean they needed a Lucio player, so they picked up Nisha. Uh, Mostly just because I feel like the reason why they dropped like Eveltal is because going into the season they probably knew that they were going to be playing Lucio, and really I never really saw Eveltal ever play Lucio, and I don't think it was if he did it probably wasn't that great. So they tried looking over for
No.
some players off of contenders who could play Lucio
Yeah.
very well.
You say they got Nisha this year?
Yeah, he's picked up in November this year, or of last year. Oh yeah, Nisha was on the team. I don't know why
Yeah,
I was. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they
they've
only
had
picked
him
up
for a
one new
while.
player, and that
I've,
being Daisy
uh,
then.
yeah, yeah,
Which
I haven't heard much of Daisy,
I don't
honestly.
think they need Daisy. I mean, really, Daisy plays like the Zarya and the Diva. And that's about it. I mean, Gaga will be playing probably just about anything else, including the Zarya. So unless like Daisy can play Doomfist,
I think it'd be funny if Chengdu goes back to like their like roots and just plays ball.
yeah, I think that would be pretty funny. But
That
I
would
feel
be.
like if they were doing that, they would have brought a Meng back.
I mean, Gaga has shown that he's pretty capable on ball.
I know he is, but like it would just be funny to see him bring back a Meng just so they can play a Wrecking Ball.
Yeah, that's another thing about this year is that like nobody's going to be having a tank specialist unless it's like a Doomfist specialist to where they can play DPS as well.
Yeah, and that's
But
something
like,
that
yeah,
Chengdu can't even do. Like they can't even have a DPS player flex over to the tank to play Doomfist because they only have two DPS players, that being Leave and Jinmu. But I mean, really, who's gonna win this game? Like I don't think Chengdu's gonna do all that well this year.
uh, I'm gonna give it to Chengdu. I feel like they still hold the pieces. They just need to put the puzzle pieces together. So maybe
But
probably a
we've
Met
seen that
five.
throughout the years that they've struggled to put those pieces together.
Again, I mean Chengdu is one of those teams that I don't know. There are those teams that just come out strong sometimes. They either come out really strong or they come out really weak.
Yeah, they're
So
either like 2021 Shanghai Dragons or they're 2017 Shanghai Dragons. Like,
is it gonna be the Chengdu zone this year, or is it just gonna be the Chengdu zone's gone? I hope the Chengdu zone stays.
I mean,
Chengdu
next
zone is
game, do we
always
really
fun.
need to mention like anything other than Shanghai gonna win?
No,
Like,
we could probably just move on to Dynasty Valley
yeah,
right
because
now.
Spark isn't gonna do anything against the Dragons. Yeah. So
We're-
Seoul Valiant. I mean, again, I really don't have much to say about this other than like Valiant could take a map. Like I think Seoul is definitely gonna be one of the top teams. So I don't feel like they're gonna really be touched by many teams, but Valiant has proven that even last year they've been able to take team map a map or two off of some surprising games, and I think with this improved roster, regardless of coaching changes or whatever, that's gonna change.
yeah, it's pretty all right.
Fusion and Charge though, here's a surprising, bit of a hard one to pick, I guess, because Fusion and Charge both are you know decent looking teams. They're not looking great, but they're not looking bad either. I think that like this weekend's definitely gonna be basing like Friday's definitely gonna give us a baseline for a lot of these teams going forward because I mean like a lot of these teams are like the ones that we question their viability like Philly, Guangzhou, Valiant, and Spark. So to give like Friday be able to kind of wage how each team is going to be able to adapt definitely is going to be an interesting one. It's kind of could cause pickums to change, but Fusion and Charge, I feel like I got to give it to the Charge honestly.
You're gonna charge? All right, I think I'm gonna disagree with you on this one. I think it's gonna be Fusion.
I don't personally know much about like MN3 Zest. I don't really know anything about any of the players outside of Carpe, Fury, and Aim God. And I mean, Fury is honestly kind of a wash tank player. I feel like uh over the like outside of season one, Fury has never really been able to keep up that kind of performance, and it's just gotten worse every year. Uh, and we look at Carpe, and I love Carpe. I'm not gonna say that like he's a bad player. However, I just don't think that he's gonna be able to carry the team as well as he normally would, especially with the rest of the team mostly being rookies or players that really haven't seen much playtime in a long time.
I mean, I'm just gonna take a gamble though and put my faith in the rookies because Guangzhou Chart they're not an unbeatable team. Like if you look at years prior with like the core that they still have, they weren't exactly like the only reason they're dominant was probably like or not even dominant, but like relevant was like season 3 maybe like when they kind of rivaled the Shanghai Dragons. But like that wasn't even that big, and the rest of the years they just kind of mid. And I think that like this is going to be another year where they're going to be middle of the pack.
I mean,
It,
wasn't Philly kind of the same way though?
Philly at least, Philly at least like punched at the top teams. Like sometimes they were able to make something, and other times they did the Philly thing and dropped the ball, which might happen this game where it's a reverse sweep. I feel
I
first
mean,
reverse sweep.
really, like
Like
unless like Fixa and Aim God are like a phenomenal support duo like Alarm and Funny Astro were. I don't see Philly being able to do much of anything because that was kind of what propelled Fusion most of the time was Alarm and Funny Astro being able to provide support and also do immense damage at the same time. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be like a super like dominant game. I do think that it's gonna be a close one. Maybe a map 5, but personally myself, I'm gonna give it a 3-1 to the charge.
yeah, I mean we could agree to disagree. So
Chengdu Seoul. That's not a great looking matchup here. I mean
I already
Seoul
know who I wouldn't. Yeah.
Seoul's got this. It's just a matter of will Chengdu pull a map out. And I don't really think they could, honestly. Last up is what I think is going to be the toilet bowl, is Valiant and Spark. I think this is where Valiant take a dub.
That's fair.
Like I
I
like this like it's something exciting.
depending on that charge game, I'm instantly going back to this pick'em. But yeah, if like I mean, we'll definitely see like with the Valiant's performance, like with that charge game, I think it's going to give us like a more indication of like how this match is going to go out. But like just as a basis, I like I said, this team looks like something that you wouldn't find on like the Valiant. It looks like something you'd find on like another APAC team, like
On the Spark.
yeah, on the Spark. So I think these two teams are probably evenly matched. And I feel like there are probably some Spark fans out there that like heavily disagree with us. But
The
like
thing is
yeah.
that like I'm also a Spark fan. I like some of their players like Gouchue and Bernard and Architect. I think they're phenomenal players, but when it comes to the rest of the Spark, it's a team that's not that can't like they can't
Plus
keep up. They just
I've
can't.
never been a fan of Hangzhou coaching.
Like
They never seem to get it right.
outside of I want to say it was season 3, Spark really has never been that great. But even more so when they've lost players like MCD, IDK, Godsby, players who were there as like such a dominant force on the team. It's Valiant's got this. I think it's gonna be a close game. I don't see Valiant like dominating the Spark or anything. I think it's definitely gonna be a close one.
Yeah, I agree. So I think I already do have my West region filled out, so I think I'm gonna start. So I'm probably gonna start with like my opinions on it. So for the Paris and Justice, perfect game for me to start off on. know that
Yeah, no, we already
Paris
know
hasn't
what's going
been.
on.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, we already know what's
so
going on.
literally where their head coach, which J Mac, where J Mac literally has to put out a public apology to the fans and viewers that, hey, sorry, our team is absolutely god awful. You know your team is bad. So really, I don't think Paris is gonna be able to get the win.
Yeah, let's just hope they don't drop Glister because Happy or Decay diff him. That'd be fortunate. But
Florida Nixel though, like this is actually a match that I'm excited for.
I did. I wouldn't say I was too excited for it. I do think it's gonna be I probably it's gonna be a 3-1 victory for Florida. New York just seemed to be on the top of the bottom. Meanwhile, Florida has proven they're definitely middle of the pack somewhere. Maybe they're definitely able to punch at higher teams like they did was it Houston or is it I don't know. I don't
I mean, they
remember
did
which.
it to Houston. They did it
Yeah,
to let's see. Let's go back up here real quick. They did it with
yeah, they did to Houston.
yeah, they did it to Houston. They did it to Paris, which I mean, at the time, Paris looked okay. Uh, they also did it to the Titans. They are actually undefeated. Oh no, they lost in Houston,
Yeah,
but it
Atlanta.
was a super close game. So
They
I
lost to
mean,
Atlanta too.
oh yeah, they did lose to Atlanta. I thought they won that game. I don't know. I even predicted Atlanta to win that. But yeah, so Florida's definitely not a bad team. I think that they're the reason why they're so good is because of someone like Sir Majed. I think
Yeah,
he's got
I don't.
rookie of the year. Honestly, he's just
I
so
think
good.
Ricky Lear's probably contested, but he's definitely a nominee. I feel.
Also,
All
another one I
right.
was kind of surprised about was someone. Someone's also been really good. What's your thoughts on Toronto Dallas?
So my thoughts on Toronto Dallas. I think I'm gonna go with a pretty average. I'm really second thoughting or having second thoughts on my pick because I have 3-1 Dallas, which it seems like the right pick. Like it just seems like the right pick. But with that Houston game, we also thought that Dallas was the right pick, and we all know how that turned out. That they absolutely dropped the ball on that one. But I think ever since that game, they've kind of learned and they got their stuff together. Because after that Houston game, they've looked all right. They've beaten all the teams they're supposed to. And against that Gladiators game where they lost, that's unfortunate.
Actually, they won.
But
They actually won
oh, they
against the
don't.
Gladiators.
I
Yeah,
don't
they
know why I
clutched
said
out the reverse sweep,
yeah.
which
So they pretty much
I
beat
I
everyone.
was so excited for Glads to be able to 3-0 the Fuel, but then Fuel were just like, we're the Dallas Fuel, and it just wins.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
Yeah. So I am gonna go with 3-1 for the Fuel and Defiant, but I definitely am not confident in that prediction.
Neither am I. Which is why I'm actually gonna give Toronto an extra point there to go to a map 5. Just
Because yeah,
because
Toronto.
Toronto's pulled out some surprising games themselves.
Yeah, when I mean when they are looking good, they are looking really good. Last week against Paris, they wiped the floor with them. They made them look just not good. They beat the Outlaws at one time.
Yeah, they did pull out the win against the Outlaws. They pulled a good game against Justice too, who, like we mentioned, look really strong as well. So I think Toronto
So,
has a chance in that game. I don't think they're gonna be able to win, but I think they're definitely gonna have a close game. London and
so
Houston.
yeah, Leinster, Houston.
What kind of Houston are we getting here? Are we getting like are we getting like opening weekend Houston where they're actually like really strong, or are we getting week 2 Houston where they start off really poor and got a little bit better.
I'm gonna give Houston the benefit of the doubt and say that like they're probably gonna be like strong this week because they need like right now. I mean, have you seen third seed? There's like 5 teams in it. I'm not like, and it's like a highly contested place. And I think this week is gonna show us like, okay, who's getting in, who's not. It's not gonna be like final or anything, but we're definitely gonna have a lot more places locked in. And I think Houston probably want a chance. So I think that Houston are probably going to be strong this week. But then again, London has also been looking strong. They did face some like weaker teams like Boston, Vancouver, but when they did look pretty all right. So I think I'm going to give a map say 3-1.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say like London's won a game, so
Yeah.
like they definitely
Like,
do have. Or they won 2 games. They beat the Titans and
yeah.
they beat the
The
Uprising.
Titans, which they aren't that really impressive. Seeing like that
Personally, myself,
both
I
Titans
think
and
saying
Uprising are not
beating
that
Boston's
good of
not that
teams.
bad of a.
It's not that bad, but it's like still Boston don't have that many good feats as of right now.
Yeah, I know
So
Boston is
it's
easily
not
the
that
most
big of a good.
disappointing team of the year.
Yeah,
Talking about a team that
don't.
dropped the ball. Here's the most exciting game I think that we're
This
gonna
is.
have this tournament is the Shock and the Glads.
I really hope this is a banger. I really hope it is.
Here's where I think I already know that you and I are gonna be contesting this. I say Glads are winning,
Yeah, I'm contesting
and
that.
I know that you're saying
I'm all.
Shock are winning.
I'm all. I'm all about those rookies, man. After like almost going perfect against and playing against, Houston, playing against. I mean, the opening weekend, I will admit, they did play some like, not so very good teams, like, Shock. But like we already said, they 3-0'd London. London's looking like one of the better of the worst teams.
I mean, really Shock, but you gotta say
Pretty
like
average.
Shock. You can't say
Yeah.
Shock has had only a couple of easy games. 3 out of 4 of their games that they played so far have been incredibly easy teams, being Paris, London, and Nixel, and even to an extent Houston. All teams that they easily beat. Like this is the test of the Shock. I think.
I mean, it's all about that coaching. Like them coming off a high that they did the past 2 weeks, and also having the coaching that they do, and it's definitely good. And especially we see it like last week with Dallas Fuel, when Gladiators are under pressure, they fall. And, I'm just saying, if Shot can do something very similar to Fuel, whether that's a reverse sweep or just a normal sweep or just getting in their head a little bit, they could definitely take down this Titan that is the Gladiators. Gladiators are all around strong teams, so it's definitely got to be close. But I mean, I'm just I'm just gonna predict Shock until they lose their first game because you know they're on that streak right now. They're like looking really good. I'm just gonna keep having them on that streak.
Yeah, I still just gotta say that though that the Gladiators, even though they've lost like against the Fuel, it was a close game even in the maps that they did lose. It definitely could have ended at any point. And even if so, I mean, Glads have had a fairly like difficult time. I mean, like sure they face Boston, who really aren't all that strong. And they face Nixel, who I also mentioned aren't that strong. But at the same time, Nixel's proven to be fairly decent, and Boston has their moments. So comparing it to Shock having to face like Nixel, who yeah, they faced off Nixel and Houston, who both have had great showings. They've also faced off against Paris and London, who really haven't been able to do anything.
I mean, but look at like Gladiators, uh, feats right now. I mean, their first week, Boston and Excelsior, which I mean, you know, Shock has beat Excelsior same way, and Boston. I mean, London even beat Boston, so beating London is technically a better feat than beating Boston. And yeah, they lost to the Fuel that one time. And am I missing a game, or is that it?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Glads have played 3 games. They played
Huh.
Nixle, Boston, and Dallas.
Yeah. So they really haven't. Huh. I thought they would have, but I guess they really haven't beaten like uh above average team, at least of right now. I
They
definitely
beat
feel like
Dallas.
no, they lost to Dallas. Remember?
Oh yeah, no, they did lose to Dallas. Yeah, listen, that's what I wanted to
I
from Glads. I
yeah, I
wanted them to
know.
win that game. Actually, I had it that they lost the game. I got that score perfect, you know. But
Yeah, I
going into
lost.
that
I mean,
ending, I actually wanted them to win. So
I like how we both just feel like they should have won that game,
they should have. They did
but I
choke
guess
that hard, but I Shocker known for not being able to reverse sweep. So I feel like if Glads can get that 2-0,
that's. I mean, I don't think that's true. There's no reverse sweep because they always sweep.
they either sweep or get swept. I mean, Shock just don't. That's what they're notorious for. I feel, and
I mean, they've gotten these past few like 3-1s, and I mean, even the past. I mean, this is definitely a new shock team, like you said, and but like using past shock teams as an example, they've definitely been able to like get back from a loss. So I feel like they could definitely just pull it out. But I think that's just what I think. We can agree to disagree on that one again.
it's gonna be the most exciting game of the weekend.
It is.
We don't even get to see Shanghai Seal yet, so they wanted to make sure we all got a hype for this over another match. Boston Toronto. I
Yeah,
think Boston could take a map off of Toronto.
I was thinking that too. I was thinking like they'll probably like take push or something because they seem to be decent at push, but I don't know about any of the other game modes.
All right, Atlanta, Vancouver, Atlanta 3-0. I mean, sure they
Yeah,
looked really weak last week going against the
justice.
Justice, but
But I mean, Atlanta's always been good at just sweeping these below average teams.
yeah, I mean like they did it to Nixel, who even Glads in shot couldn't do. So Atlanta I think definitely is going to have their moments. I don't think they're going to be a perfect team this year, but I think that they definitely will be picking up this win against the Titans. I just want to see Titans actually perform well once, just once.
Who knows? They may pull a justice on us. Wouldn't that be something to see? But yeah,
I
I know.
would legitimately be upset. I'm not even going to talk about Dallas Paris. I mean, it's Paris. I refer to the Justice match. And lastly, Boston versus Justice. I mean, Boston might take a map. And you got anything else to add with that?
uh, I don't.
Other than you
They
saying that
probably
they're not going to take a map?
they're gonna go map 5. I'm just kidding. Uh, it really depends because I think Boston they're probably gonna be out of this. Uh, they're probably gonna be out of this, so they really are not gonna have a reason to fight. But Justice are they're trying to get like their top seed,
It
so
depends
they're
though.
gonna have
If
a
I
reason.
think if they go map 5 against Paris and then lose to Boston, I think they might be taken out. Like they'll
What Justice?
Yeah, if Justice go map 5 against Paris and then lose to Boston, I think that it would definitely be a chance that they could drop, especially if they lose to Mayhem next week
Yeah.
because they'll be facing Mayhem on next Saturday, which Not gonna. I don't really want to get in pick'ems for that week, but I honestly think Florida definitely has a chance there.
One's gonna be a hot one.
It will be a close one, I think, but I think that Justice are really gonna have to try to pick up the pace here because there are so many teams vying for that top six. So I guess that really is the end of this week's pick'ems. I think coming out of this, I think that we're really going to be able to see who's making it to the tournament. Just because I mean, like if we look at week four, the only teams that are not like almost pretty much guaranteed to be in there are Atlanta and
Sure.
Justice.
And Shock.
A Shock is guaranteed to be in the tournament.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I thought you were saying
they're the
teams that look
first.
guaranteed.
Yeah, they're the
They
first
are
one to be
guaranteed.
guaranteed. Atlanta has a chance to be knocked out. Houston has a chance to be knocked out. Glads, if they lose both of their games this week, they their only game. If they lose to the Shock and get completely swept by the Shock, they have a probably a very slim chance of making it. But they're also against London and Atlanta, so they definitely could have a chance at making it in. But it might be at the loss of the Atlanta Reign. It's kind of funny though both Atlanta and LA are both going to be facing London, and then they're going to be facing each other on Sunday.
So it'd be funny. London can completely control
Yeah,
the outcome.
London could like sweep both LA and Atlanta, and then it'll be Atlanta and Gladys to determine who makes it.
It'd
That
be
would be
funny if
perfect.
like London actually wins against one of these teams though, and make the other matches completely invalid.
I don't know. It really could go either way. I feel.
Yeah, I think that's going into next week a bit.
Yeah, it is. But hey, we have a lot to discuss here, and I think that this week might really be the most exciting week of the kickoff clash. I mean, if you have nothing else to say, I guess we will wait and see to view what happens during the week three for the West and East regions.